Ladies and gentlemen, there is no better way to get up than to get up with Garret.
Hey, what's up, Dougie Bricks?
What's up? How you doing? Good morning.
How you doing, man? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
This is like a little post-birthday celebration.
Yes. Happy birthday, by the way, officially.
Thank you.
It's official now because we said it on air.
You do not need to text me. You do not need to Facebook, tweet me, LinkedIn me, whatever, DM me. You can just say me live in studio.
Yes, absolutely.
We are coming to you live from Bergen County, New Jersey. We are going live on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. It's amazing what this world can do. And I'm very appreciative. I'm waking up feeling grateful, feeling thankful for my family, for my friends, for my health, for my business, for this podcast, for all the opportunities that I have to give back in life and reflect on what I've learned over 42 years. So yesterday was my birthday. And how long are we going to let this music play for?
I don't know. It sounds really awesome when you're talking over it. It sounded so great. It sounded amazing.
Play
so
the Oscars. Going. Play the violin on the music guy.
No. It wasn't like playing the music to cut you off.
Oh, okay.
No, it was like inspirational, background music. But I'll take it off if you want. I'll take it off.
And,
sounded great.
It's good to see you. And, it's funny, you talk about birthdays. Our guest today, George Knauf from FranChoice and perfectfranchise.com is really going to get a lot of credit for getting me into the franchise business. It was his birthday yesterday. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll hear later from him today how he celebrated. So anyway, I had a great day. My family always spoils me. We had cake for breakfast. You've heard of cake by the ocean?
Yeah.
We're doing cake for breakfast.
Nice.
And my wife posted a cute picture. I actually saved, this is my Al Bundy moment. So in eighth grade, I was always the same size, same height, a little faster. And I was a dominant eighth grade football player. And I saved my jersey. And there it is in the top right corner. That's the 42. But hold on to that one for a while. So now I get a whole year to wear that whenever I want. It's not a Jets jersey. Okay. That's an MKA eighth grade football jersey. I think I led the team in touchdowns. And we won some prep school championship.
Nicely done.
Big Al Bundy moment. So 42, great number. Jackie Robinson, of course, and Super Bowl 42. Halfway through the Super Bowl, I was at that game when the Giants upset the Patriots and ruined the perfect season. Halfway through, my wife texts me and says, "It's 42. It's 42." I said, "Oh my God, you're right. We're gonna win. We're gonna win," and we did.
Best game I've ever seen in my life.
Best game ever. Yes, right?
Best game ever.
And actually, recently, David Tyree reenacted the catch at Eli Manning Day. And I actually wrote to him. I was like, "Hey, great catch!" And he wrote back at 10:45 at night. We really needed to win that game. So I appreciate you sharing that. We had a nice dinner with my family at a beautiful restaurant with my in-laws, and my parents came, and the kids came. They were all dressed up, and so that was super. And this is a crazy birthday month. My little one Harper is going to be 7 in 2, I guess, what's today, the 7th? So the 9th. And then our anniversary is coming up on the 12th, and Jessica's got a big birthday coming up on the 17th.
Absolutely.
And, Daisy is going to have her first birthday on Halloween. My mom's got a birthday. It's just a million bedroom birthdays. So October is an exciting month. We call it Bedroom-tober, and we love the fall. We love the weather, and got my fall orange shirt going anyway.
Nice.
So a couple funny things. Have you heard, and I don't know if you saw on, maybe it was on 60 Minutes or on YouTube, this Tony Bennett piece with Lady Gaga. They were doing this final concert at Radio City. So
I saw them sing together once a while ago.
Yeah, so they were going to do his retirement, and I just, this is not a funny thing. I just mentioned it was so heartwarming, and I encourage people to check it out. I knew about it because my dad had said he wanted to go see this show pre-COVID and decided not to be indoors for safety. But so Tony Bennett's been suffering with amnesia and early onset, Alzheimer's, et cetera, and it's significant. And so you see him kind of not so with it and not remembering certain things. But then when the music comes on and he starts to rehearse and practice, his body automatically knows and goes into, I'm Tony Bennett.
Wow.
And it's just, you'll be tearing up watching this, because a minute earlier, he doesn't remember Lady Gaga, who he just performed with, and he can't remember the concert. But the minute the music starts, he starts doing the crew. He's Tony Bennett.
Muscle memory.
Incredible, right? And a doctor goes on and explains how part of the brain, we talked a lot last week about your RAS and how you can filter things in your brain. And I just thought that was kind of poignant and interesting based on our conversation last week. He just knows that he's got to play the role of Tony Bennett. So I found that really interesting. So check that out. Also wanted to maybe share an update on Hawthorn, on the big project that we're doing, the big mixed-use 118 luxury units. I know everyone's curious how we're doing there. And by the way, just a reminder, as Doug's prepping this, that the show is completely interactive. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns,
look at you.
Email us. You can text us. You can comment on Facebook Live. You can comment on LinkedIn, YouTube.
Yes.
And we can share.
So we have some birthday wishes in the comments section right now.
Is that from Jeffrey?
That's Jeffrey Krentzman right there
Jeffrey
from Mind Your Fucking Business.
Wow.
There you go.
One of our sister podcasts here at Undefeated Media. How wonderful.
Absolutely. So yes, I'm super proud that you said that, because we do want to make this as interactive as possible.
Absolutely.
And we want you guys to comment in the comment section so we can bring it up on screen and interact with you just like Jeffrey did.
Do you think Jeffrey knows the photo, though, that he has that comes up when he comments?
Oh, he knows. He's a pirate.
I think it's a pirate.
He's a
pirate. So yeah, if you want to cue that video.
Yep, we're getting this right here.
Okay.
Wait, no. Oh, go this way. There we go.
I can go to a different topic if we have to. Too.
We're good. We're good.
All right. So here's where we are. Let's let it rip. And I can give an overview. So you've got some significant steel work that started there at the self-storage. Okay. You can see that in the back. We're finishing up some of the soil drilling and digging down. That is quite a piece of equipment.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got some elevator shafts, staircases going even higher on both the residential and the self-storage. That's the first floor of the self-storage being developed. And I think the residential framing will be starting by the end of this month. And a lot of deliveries coming this next 2 weeks. So we're really rocking and rolling. Super excited about our Hawthorn project. And stay tuned. Some upcoming news hopefully soon. About other projects that we're trying to get involved with locally here.
Absolutely.
So, it's funny. Jeff had reached in and said hello.
Yes, and Melissa just said hello as well.
And there's Melissa from Salons by JC, from Melissa Beauty and Wellness in Wyckoff, New Jersey. I know she's a big fan of yours.
Right down the street, yeah.
Come check out Melissa. She just did a big grand opening with the mayor, and the town welcomed her to Wyckoff, another entrepreneurial small business owner reaching her goals and going after it.
Yeah, Melissa's great.
But on the podcast that you host with Jeff, Mind Your Fucking Business, I give you a lot of credit, because you and Jeff were talking about when will the Giants get their first win, and the Jets. And Jeff was a little negative about the Giants in all fairness. And he kind of went through that schedule with you, and is it this week? Is it that week? Is it week 12? It's not the bye week because you're off. And you kind of put yourself out there and you said, well, how about this week? How about against the Saints in New Orleans at their grand home opening, because they were kind of on neutral sites with Hurricane Ida. So the Giants went down to New Orleans and they did what they do. They come back in the fourth quarter. They were down, I think 11. They were down maybe or even more. And Danny Jones calmly kind of leads that crew up and down the field, and Barkley stepped up. And they got the win in overtime. And really surprised a lot of people. Yeah. What'd you think of the game?
Well, it was the only game I thought they could win out of their next 15. So if I had to put money on any of them, it was that one. I mean, and they needed to do that if they're going to have any type of season. I mean, their season's pretty much over, but like if they lost that one, it was, the rest of the season is not looking good for them. But yeah, both Giants and the Jets in overtime.
Yes, and the Jets, they both won in overtime. That's pretty interesting for both teams to get their win. And I don't know if I sent you the graphic, but Danny Jones, I think I said a week ago, this gentleman is getting better. People aren't really realizing it, that he is really getting better. The mistakes have gone away. And there you go. NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Daniel Jones. Congratulations. I I think he's just doing the right things. He's taking his time. He's using his athletic ability. He's had no interceptions. He's had interceptions, but barely.
Mm-hmm.
He's not fumbling as often. He used to lose the ball. And part of winning in both football and in business is being available, right? And so when you don't turn the ball over and you don't make mistakes, sometimes you have to throw the ball away. Sometimes you have to lose a couple of yards. But like I always say, you got to play the long game. And so Danny Jones is kind of quietly growing his stock. And I really feel the Giants have their quarterback. I feel passionate about that. So some of the haters out there, let's get a new draft. Let's draft a new quarterback. Get rid of this guy. Get rid of that guy. No. I don't think he's the issue whatsoever.
A lot of teams think they just need to fixing the problem is the quarterback, and it's not. You can see that with Carolina Panthers and Sam Darnold. He wasn't the issue. It's the line. But I do like, Danny Dimes over here, and he's like giving it 100%. He rolled over a linebacker.
Well, when he what was that when he got the 2-point conversion against Atlanta?
He just plowed through a linebacker.
He's athletic.
Yeah,
he's strong.
He's not shying away from hits.
So we do need to talk about last week's football picks.
Let's do it.
Unfortunately, we didn't do as well as we would have liked. One of us did better than the other, but.
All right.
So we started out, we both failed miserably on this one. We both had the Titans giving 7.5 to
Who would have thought the Jets.
and not only did they not give 7.5, they actually lost the game, the Titans. So, I mean, Derrick Henry had some great plays there at the end. I kind of kept thinking they were going to win. I was watching it on two TVs, Red Zone and Giants and Jets. And but the Jets, congratulations to Woody Johnson and the Jets family. They got their first victory. So, that was definitely wrong and missed by us here. The next game that we did get was the Chiefs versus the Eagles. I think it was the Chiefs giving 7.5 against the Eagles, and they just dominated them. At one point, they were up, I think, 15, 20 points. And I always get nervous in those games that they'll start kind of screwing around, and then they don't care, and the spread they don't really care about, of course. So we were good on that game, and
the Chiefs needed that one.
Huge,
because their season's getting a little. People are starting to question the Chiefs right now. They lost to the Eagles.
Well, you've got so many other great teams, out west in the AFC that are just it's top heavy. So I mean, if you're going to be last place in your division, even though you're the Chiefs, it's not going to be good enough. You're going to need to win a lot of games. In that division. The last game, which you and I split on. I went with the Ravens +1 against the Denver Broncos, and the Ravens did beat them by more than +1. So, Teddy Bridgewater came down to earth a little bit on that game, and, Lamar Jackson is, of course, a special player. So, basically, I went 2-1. You went 1-2. So, if you at home were betting on your FanDuel with me, congratulations. You made a couple shekels. If you were betting with Dougie,
thanks. Insult to injury.
You may be getting a pair of sneakers in the mail in his, undefeated media colors.
Insult to injury.
But you've got new kicks on today. Last week you showed me.
We can have a kick segment
Jordans.
If you want. You want a kick segment over here?
This week you've got your Ted Lasso specials.
You can't see them.
Don't hurt yourself.
I just don't want to break the set here.
Don't do a high kick and hurt yourself.
Yeah, we got
those are sweet.
With the red laces, man.
I like those.
There you go.
I think those are hot.
I just pulled a muscle.
I think I like those better than the undefeated media Jordan ones.
Yeah, I got them right here. I haven't put them on yet. I got them right here. You want me to bring those?
No, you can't return them because they're custom. So you're done. You're done.
No, I said I have them. You want me to bring them on air?
No, we saw them last week. We saw them last week. So
I already pulled them.
Let's look at doing our football picks for this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got 3 games.
All right.
So first game, Dougie, the Green Bay Packers are giving 3 points to the Cincinnati Bengals, and the game's in Cincinnati. Okay,
just 3 points.
Just 3 points.
That's easy.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Green Bay's.
You want to go with Green Bay?
Yeah.
All right, I'm marking down Dougie for Green Bay.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Green Bay also. Although I think Joe Burrow is a baller, I do like him. I think Rodgers now is kind of like getting into this mood of it's just time to kick everyone's butt.
Yeah. The first 2 games were preseason for him because he didn't do preseason or practice.
I agree. That's a great point. He just needed a little warm up.
Just warming up.
Did you get a chance to see the Patriots Tampa Bay game, the Tom Brady homecoming?
Yes.
Gillette? What'd you think?
I mean, It was a good game. It was also torrential downpour.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like Brady was going to win anyway. I mean, Mac Jones did look all right
Yeah.
for a rookie quarterback
he
going
held
against
him-
Tom Brady.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
he doesn't really. Mac Jones, the quarterback, doesn't go against Tom Brady. Plays offense. He's good, but he doesn't play both sides. But yeah, I was impressed with Mac Jones. I think what that says is the system that Belichick has built, and Josh McDaniels out there in New England is a very strong system that they could keep plugging, whether it's Brady, Garoppolo, Mac Jones, right, and make him look like, Mac Jones did not look like a rookie. So that was pretty interesting.
What I do love is Belichick's son's facial expressions. I think he's like the defensive coordinator or something. And he's got like a mullet.
We got to send him to Slans by JC because a mullet is not an approved.
Yes.
NFL.
He's always like.
Yeah, he is hysterical. He's absolutely. What's his name? Steve? Is that Steve?
I
forget his name.
I don't know, but they show him every once in a while.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So the second game is going to be Miami.
Yes.
Plus 9.5.
That's a lot of points.
At Tampa. Okay, so they're going up I-95, right? They're going to head, what's that, east or, let me think, west. They're going to head to the west side of Florida, to Tampa, Ybor City. Have a lot of, I used to live in Bradenton when I worked for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tampa was a fun place to go, is all I'll say on this podcast. But, it's a Florida team driving or taking the train or whatever they're going to do. And that's a lot of points. So
that's a lot of points.
Tampa obviously was stymied and confused and emotionally probably drained with this Belichick Brady thing. How do you think they respond this week? 9.5.
I'm going first. It's a lot of points. I'm still going to take the Bucs.
Doug's taking
They're
the Bucs.
going to win by more than 2 touchdowns. I feel like. Yeah, because especially after that emotional torrential downpour, they're going to come to play, discipline. They're gonna roll over Dolphins.
You got it. I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go with Miami.
Wow.
I just think it's a ton of points. They're in Florida. Yes, it's a road game, but it's not really a big travel issue. And that's a touchdown, or it's some type of combination of a few field goals, whatever it may be. It's a big number.
Touchdown and a field goal, 2 touchdowns.
Could be a touchdown with a missed extra point plus a field goal would be 9. They still win 9.5.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Someone goes for 2 and misses it. So I'm going to go on that one.
All right.
And the last game I was looking through, and again, I was trying to find something that I felt strong about, not just for fun. And I came up with the Giants.
Okay.
I came up with the Giants.
Right.
Is that okay?
That's
on this?
fine with me. I like the local teams.
Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of these picks, obviously, in your comments, because we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I think people are watching us on the Garret Graham, which is my personal Instagram.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you can comment on that. We see that, but it's okay to watch.
Yeah, we can't bring those comments in, but
in.
you are with us. If you want to drop a comment,
we love you.
Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, we can bring those comments in.
And so I'm going to go, we have the Giants getting, 8.5 points on the road in, what do they call it? Jerry World in Dallas.
Yeah.
Right?
They're going against the Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys, NFC East rival, who are looking good.
They're getting 8.5 points?
The Giants are getting 8.5.
I'm going Giants.
You're going Giants?
Of course. I mean, that's a big rivalry game. Those games are always close. 8.5 points is a lot.
A lot of points. So I'm going to also go Giants.
Nice.
Not because I'm emotional and love the Giants.
Or bleed blue.
But because when you look back, these NFC East division games, like the Redskin one, typically end in a last-second field goal.
Yeah.
Many, many times. So it's a 1-point win. It's a 3-point win. Giants miss a field goal. Giants make a field goal. Dallas make whatever.
Yeah. We're not saying they might win. We're just saying it's going to be by less than 8 points.
I'm going to be pushing for the victory.
Yeah, we're pushing for the victory.
Praying everything.
8.5 points is a lot of points.
I'm not going to hope for the victory because, like I always say on this podcast, hope is not a business plan. If somebody ever says that to you, walk out of the room and say, I'm not investing my hard-earned capital with you. So hope is not a business plan. But we can pray the Giants win.
Yeah,
that's allowed.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So just to recap, we're both going to go with the Packers, giving 3 to the Cincinnati Bengals. We're split. I'm going to go with Miami getting 9.5. Okay. You're going to go with Tampa giving the 9.5.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go together with the Giants getting 8.5 in Dallas. How's that sound?
That sounds great. I mean, the second one is a 50-50, is a coin flip because that is a lot of points. The Dolphins-Bucks game. That's the one that we're split.
Sure.
It could go either way.
So that's where we are. If you feel differently against, that's okay. You can let us know in the comments. And I am curious to know, what our next guest would do with his pick for his local team, by the way.
Absolutely.
So our guest today is going to be George Knauf. He's with a company called Franchoice, and he has his own website, myperfectfranchise.com.
Even better, I'm going to put it on the screen for you.
You are? And so George is responsible for introducing me to Salons by JC.
Nice.
And teaching me a little bit about the franchise industry and business. But George is also kind of what I would call a business builder. And he likes to say he's an empire builder, or helping his clients build empires. And there's a lot more than the franchise business. Very success proven. He's owned franchises. He's been in a lot of different positions throughout his career. And so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to bring him to the show and introduce him to our friends and our listeners, and hopefully they can learn something about what it's like to take that step and go out on your own into a small business, and particularly into a franchise business. So, awesome. George, are you ready? Have you been enjoying the caviar and the green M&Ms?
I have. It's a wonderful green room. Thank you so much.
So thanks, George, for
Packers, joining. Tampa, Dallas.
Packers, Tampa,
as a Redskins fan, it's hard to pick Dallas for anything, but they're playing really well right now. So,
and George is from the DC area. So, I mean, are you a Washington football team fan? Is that?
Yeah, I grew up.
Is that where you live?
Went to events in the area. Met Sonny Jurgensen. Met Billy Kilmer. Met Joe Theismann. And so from the time I could walk and realize what football was a Washington fan, and it's been hard for the past decade to retain that.
Yeah,
Washington Sentinels. Washington Sentinels.
So George, two quick questions for you.
Sure.
What do you think they're going to do this weekend? They're playing the Saints, which I think it's Saints are giving 1.5 at Washington. That's question one. Question two is, will they change this name again ever, or are they going to stay with this boring Washington football team name? And if they change it, where do you think they should go with it? Do you have any suggestions for Daniel Snyder?
So our football team right now is a guess any weekend, what's going to happen. I got to say, though, the more I watch this quarterback, Heineke, he is the most Washington quarterback we've had in a long time. He just fits the personality, kind of that lunchbox, humble, goes to work, works hard, will run the ball, even if it's going to knock him out of the game for the rest of his life. He's just got the right personality, and the team seems to be falling in behind him, right? There's more energy, more commitment, more enthusiasm on the field. It hasn't turned us into a great team yet, but I think you have to start with the right attitude, right?
Yeah, he's a great leader, and the team is getting behind him. They love him. They love that he puts himself out there. Yeah. I think he's a great kid. Yep. And other than playing against the Giants,
you got to give credit to Ron Rivera. Ron's a good guy. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
He coached through cancer.
Incredible.
He was taking chemo in the locker room at halftime. It's just crazy.
So that doesn't inspire you. So question two, what about the name? What do you think?
Every time they ask for a public poll, I submit the Sentinels. If you remember the movie The Replacements, that was the name of the team in The Replacements, and it was just a gutsy team that came and did things that they shouldn't have been able to do. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. So
gotcha.
I don't think
the Keanu Reeves one, Dougie, you were talking about earlier, or who was?
Yeah, absolutely. The Keanu Reeves is Shane Falco.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, the name is amazing, but yeah, the NFL players go on strike and they bring in Shane Falco.
Why does that remind me of some newspaper? Like, is the Sentinel like a really popular newspaper name? Why don't you go ahead? If you have a great name for the Washington football team, feel free to put it in the comments and we'll share it while George is talking about.
Yeah, we do need a name though. The Washington football team is not a name. It's
not a name. But I kind of my sport business background. I'm kind of open to the idea of some of these teams changing their names more often. If you think about the pure dollars this can create, right? New jerseys, new merchandise, new hats, etc. It's an interesting opportunity. I would love to talk about that on another show and kind of do a study. seeing what kind of dollars can be generated versus loss of loyalty and confusion of brand. Maybe we'll save that for a marketing expert. So, George, let's jump into today's show, and what we really want to talk about is,
Sure.
tell us kind of in a nutshell, what's your bread and butter? What do you do? Are you kind of a franchise broker? Are you a business consultant? Talk about what really kind of inspires you and what you really enjoy doing for clients, and how you can help them.
If you were to Google me, what I am known for is for being a franchise consultant or broker. We use the term consultant. There are people out there that call us brokers. We don't work like your local business broker in your community, so it's not a terribly accurate term. But basically what I do is I help people find their perfect franchise. Focused on the franchise world because it was a way to help people coming out of corporate America specifically, but then also business owners and investment funds, to grow a business portfolio that they owned using proven national brands, right? And so the focus that I work with every day is working with somebody coming in as a starting franchise owner or business owner, helping existing business owners to grow their portfolio. And really it's a lifelong conversation, right? You and I first talked how many years ago at this point, right?
Close to 8 or 9 years, I would say. Yeah.
Right. And so it's an ongoing conversation. I think a lot of folks picture what we do as, I'm looking for a franchise, so I'll call George and then I won't talk to them again, probably.
That's a transaction, right? That's a transaction. You're not
right.
that.
So this becomes an ongoing relationship where I want to become your franchise department, for all intents and purposes. So when you need expertise, when you need contacts, when you need resources, you call.
Gotcha. So what's the background, George? How did you get into that, or why did you want to get into that? What were you doing prior to taking that step?
Had started at the University of Alabama in aerospace engineering and learned pretty quickly that the world would be a safer place if I didn't design airplanes. And they had started up a hotel restaurant school at the university. And it was during a time when the economy wasn't great. So if you could get a job coming out of college at that point, and I only had a couple of years to go, if you could get a job coming out of college, you were going to sit in a cubicle and shuffle paperwork for a lot of years and not really do anything with any responsibility. But if I went into this hotel restaurant category, which I was already somewhat familiar with, I would be coming out of college. Day one, I'd be hired. I would be running a multi-million-dollar business with P&L responsibility. I'd be hiring, firing, marketing, the whole gambit, right? And so I thought it was the best way to build a resume of responsibility. And then from there, figure out what direction to go. After a couple of years running single units and graduating to multiple units and regions within the operations space in the restaurant business, looked around and figured out there wasn't a lot of old guys, right? And so there had to be a career path, right? If you were going to sit and figure out, okay, what's the long game? What would it be? And so I looked at franchising, took a job in franchise development with Fantastic Sam's regional office in Richmond, Virginia. Covered the
Mid-Atlantic. That's a hair cutting business, right? Fantastic Sam's.
It is.
Just so the audience understands that.
Yeah. And so that was my transition from operations to development. Got a great base of knowledge there, and for a number of years developed single brands and then multi brands. Kind of took the steps that I took in operations. And 18 years ago or so, stepped into this franchise consulting role and haven't looked back. Along the way, I've owned independent businesses and franchises, but in what I'm known for, the franchise consulting came along about 18 years ago.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about a franchise. Let's kind of educate the audience a little bit about the franchise business, the franchise industry, before we talk about kind of what does an ideal candidate look like. Why does a company want to franchise? So, and you can use any real example. You can talk about Salons by JC because we were working together on that, or any other company. But why does a company want to franchise?
Total world domination. It's in short.
I'm in.
So basically, what it boils down to is if you've got this local hero business in Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast or wherever it is, and you're trying to figure out as that business owner, how do I grow this thing, right? You may be able to grow in that market and go deeper, but a lot of companies will eventually want to go broader, want to go national or international even. And so they have two choices. They could stay privately owned or go public at some point, fund their own growth of company stores, but that's a long process, and it takes an inordinate amount of money. And so, a well-run company could grow a national brand of restaurants or retail stores in 2 or 3 decades.
Sure.
Right. It just takes time. It's
Sure.
totally doable, but it takes time. The trade-off is franchising. If you think of a franchisee, every franchisee is a micro investment fund. So the franchisee is going to come in, cover the cost to open the store, cover the cost to train or hire the people, to buy the inventory and all the other stuff that it takes to get that location open. And then they're going to pass a piece of the profits back to the franchisor for having proven the system, for having trained them how to do it, for supporting them along the way, supplying the supply chain and so forth. And so what franchising allows that franchisor to do is grow fast with exceedingly capable people running those franchises that they probably couldn't have afforded to hire if they wanted to run them all as corporate stores. So you're getting better people that have buy-in, that bring the money, and you can bring in 600 of them in a year or two, right?
I never thought about the concept that you couldn't afford to hire that quality of a person, an operator, right? Mm-hmm. So like I'm a good example. My cousin Michael and I were franchisees in Salons by JC, and it would have taken a big dump truck of gold to get us to leave the real estate business to kind of day to day be hired and be an employee, right? Because we're entrepreneurs, right? We own our own businesses. We have tons of different businesses in real estate. So that's a very interesting point. I never thought about it from that perspective. George, can you
really quickly finish the thought, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, from your experience in business, you start every project, you start every business with an end in mind, right? In business, that's usually a liquidity event of some sort.
Sure.
So if you own that local hero business and you build it up to a good sized local hero and you become ready to sell, you might get a multiple of 2 or 3 or 4 times annual net profit to walk away from that business.
Right.
If you turn that into a franchise and you now have a growing franchisee pool, that multiple goes from 2 to 4 times to 12 to 15 times, just because you created a franchise system. If you then create a multiple brand franchise system, so say you're in the home services category and you've got HVAC and plumbing and roofing, whatever. If you then become a multiple brand franchise system and you grow those brands broadly, you're going to be looked at on a different scale. That could become 30 times.
Wow.
From 2 to 4 times. Okay, so it's speed to market, speed to dominate nationally, much faster than corporate owned. And then the exit is much larger.
The exit's bigger. That's fantastic. So there's a lot of confusion sometimes in this industry. You throw around these terms, George: franchisor, franchisee, area developer. There's probably a few other terms. Can you kind of help break us down the different levels, being in a franchise? What are the different roles somebody can play? Obviously, we just started with the franchisor, right?
So franchisor is the parent company. They're the ones that started the concept, built the systems. Franchisee is typically an owner that comes in with a smaller or mid-sized portfolio. So they'll come in with 1 store, or 3 stores, or 5 stores. Could be a number of them. The area developer term was originally developed or brought to market more notably with restaurant franchises years ago. And that was usually just somebody who had a bigger portfolio, a bigger multi-unit holding. That's been borrowed to some extent in other categories now, where an area developer could be somebody who has a very large territory that they subdivide, and other franchisees buy pieces of that territory. And that goes back to an old franchise term, a master franchisee. Franchisee ages ago was Well, the one I worked with was Fantastic Sam's, my first development job. So they owned a region, and this is before we had all of this technology that's making this conversation possible today, where franchisors can be in an office across the country and train and support and provide a lot of value to their franchisees thousands of miles away. We couldn't do this at that point. We didn't have these interwebs and everything. And so the regional office became the franchisor for that region. They were a sub-franchisor. All of the franchisee contracts actually went to that master franchisee, not the parent company. And so the master franchisee was responsible for training, support, et cetera. With technology, the parent companies could pull that back in-house, which creates actually a stronger relationship for the franchisee, because you've got absolute support and buy-in with the franchisor, even if there is an area developer or regional developer. They're all very flexible terms. But if there is that second level of support, you're really getting a dual benefit, right? Because you're going to get the regional benefit plus the national benefit. So I wouldn't get too caught up in the terms, other than to know that there are franchisors and franchisees, and sometimes you have a very qualified person or group in the middle that provides an additional level of support. That name may fluctuate.
Gotcha. And so, just in very simple kind of regular terms to educate the audience who maybe haven't even heard of what it's like to be in a franchise or own a franchise, what are kind of the responsibilities of, let's just pretend it's the franchisor and the franchisee for the moment. Mm-hmm. What are the responsibilities of the franchisor? What is it that you're buying into? What are you getting? Because there's some type of fee to obviously get in, mm-hmm. and then there's usually some type of royalty or marketing fee. So talk a little bit about what are the expectations that you should be receiving, again, just in general terms, from a legitimate franchisor.
Sure. First, let me say that everything that you should receive will be spelled out in your franchise agreement, right? So if it's not there, they may supply it, but it's not guaranteed, right?
Gotcha.
And so from a generic franchise industry sense, I would want to see a good franchisor having developed a solid system, manuals. I want to see technology that they've put together to help you run the business. And when you come in as a franchisee, you're going to bring skills with you. Those may be management skills, they may be sales skills, marketing skills, whatever combination of skills that you've built through your career, you're going to bring with you. They're going to layer on top of that the expertise that they have. So as you're looking at a franchise, or you're going to want to pay attention a little bit to the match between what you bring and what they supply, right? If they're looking for people with strong management skills, you don't want to be a person without management skills, but maybe a strong salesman coming in. So that match will be important between your skills and the systems that they built. From there, you're going to want to see training. You're going to want to see a support structure. You're going to want to see people in the office that are there to help you succeed in business, so that you always have somebody to call. If you hit a challenge in your business, a roadblock, that you call them and either they have the answer at the tip of their tongue, or they say, okay, we're going to go build an answer for this. Go back and run your business. We have this, and then we'll come back together as soon as we have a solution. So basically they become your corporate office so that you can focus on running your business every day.
Gotcha. That's a great way to put it. I appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about how does somebody get from a job, right, and a W-2 and the security of a 401k and that comfort of health benefits, and maybe you've been at Xerox for 20 years, a company like that, or Royal Caribbean, and you've done well, and now you're kind of having that itch of I really want to do my own thing. So take me through the path. What does somebody have to do to get from a job to become a business owner?
I think there's a perception that you need to give things up to go from a corporate job to owning a business. I've been a business owner for over 20 years. I have health insurance. I have a 401k. I have everything a corporate job has, except I will never be downsized. Right. And so I think
that. Let's put that on a shirt.
Yeah, I was about to say, can we put on a shirt?
I'm stealing that from you, George. No royalty.
Fair enough. So, I think it's a matter of perception. So the role of an employee is something that we've all been trained is what we should do, right? If you go to school and you get good grades, if you get that first job and you work hard, you'll have the same employer, a small collection of employers through your career, and then you'll get to, I was told, pension, that became 401k, and your retirement will be glorious. Something changed along the way, right? It became very acceptable within corporate America that they will downsize initially because they were having financial challenges, but now corporations are very willing to downsize because they need to increase their stock price. Keep in mind that for a corporation, your stock price is your credit rating. So the higher your stock price, the more the corporation can borrow. If a corporation needs to borrow, they need to increase the stock price to maximize their borrowing power, right? And so you don't have to be a bad or a non-performing employee to get downsized. You just have to be one of the ones that they could dispense of today for some corporate benefit. It may be stock, it may be something else. So that was the first breakdown, was this idea that corporate America got very comfortable with the idea of losing employees for convenience of some sort,
Gotcha.
right? The second thing that came along is the employees answered that. They said, fine, if you're not going to have any loyalty to me when I want a raise or promotion, I'm going to go to LinkedIn or one of the resume websites, and I'm going to look for a new job where I can get that raise or promotion, and I may never even ask my boss before I hand him my resignation, right? And so that social contract between employee and employer broke down. And that's put us at this point where when I started with Fantastic Sam all those years ago, the people that I talked to, well, I'll tell you exactly who they were. It was a male, 57 to 62 years old, corporate America, middle management, had never been in a corporate office, corner office, will never be in a corner office. Is kind of in the mid-pack in his career, but closing in on retirement, and knew that his pension at that time, now 401k, wasn't going to be enough to provide the retirement that he wanted. So they looked at franchises as a way to close the gap, and they were typically one-unit buyers, right? That person just needed a little extra income. The folks that I'm talking to today are the best and brightest in corporate America. We still talk to that guy mid-pack in his career, but I'm talking to senior vice presidents, COOs, CEOs. It's just amazing the talent coming out of corporate America. In the franchise industry, the response was, right, there's always a call and response to everything. The response from the franchise industry was, we will go from 1,200 different types of franchise brands to over 4,000. By one count, we heard from an investment fund, as many as 10,000 franchise brands in the market today, because the industry is building opportunities for the talent that's coming in. So just a phenomenal growth pattern,
Really interesting story.
The actual move is actually easier than most people think. It's not that it's not that different from taking another job, right? You have to find the right match the same way that you would do in an interview process in a job. You have to put together your funds. Putting together the funds is pretty simple and straightforward, probably a whole other show, but in short, SBA loans, 401k rollovers. You can start your franchise tax-free with money that you put away in your 401k pre-tax. Long story short, you roll the 401k into the new corporation. Sure. That becomes self-directed. As your business starts making money, you repay your 401k. You have a 401k the whole time. The difference is that instead of investing in other companies run by CEOs you don't know, now you're investing in your company run by you. You ought to know that person pretty well.
For sure. So what are some of the skill sets that you're looking for when you're doing a consultation, you're chatting with a referral? Maybe I've introduced you to somebody who says, Garret, I know you're in franchising, and boy, I'm interested. That sounds so appealing to make your own schedule. What are some of the skill sets that you're listening for and looking for? What are the strengths that people should have? Because I want the audience to understand that if they're thinking about going this route, and maybe they're not ready today. That doesn't mean that they can't prepare themselves 6 months or 12 months out. So what are some of those resources and strengths and skills that you would look for?
I think first up, some level of management. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, but I think we're looking for some track record of management, and then from there, I'm going to dissect into how do you manage, how do you run your team, what methods do you use, what types of employees are you used to, but management is going to be first up. From there, any number of franchisors can build systems and marketing and sales that will support you as a manager, but you have to be able to run the business at the end of the day. So that's part team, that's part financials. Again, doesn't have to be incredibly deep, but there has to be some clay to work with that a franchisor can build around you the things that you need. Second up would be sales, right? There's the old quote, nothing happens till somebody sells something, right? So, I think if you come to the table with sales skills without management skills, there's going to be a small pool of franchisors that are very sales focused where you can hire a manager. If you come to the table with management skills and no sales skills, there are going to be a different group of franchisors that have built systems for that management focused person and then hiring the sales team, right? Marketing is a little more flexible, that it's beneficial to understand it. It doesn't hurt to understand how strategy works within marketing, but the franchisors are typically going to have most of those systems already built. It just becomes a matter of executing.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the one where I feel like least concerned with your strength in marketing, because there's already going to be a lot of infrastructure. Some of these companies could hire, someone like Doug to help them with their social media. I mean, Doug, have you worked with any franchise brands previously, or ever thought about that?
Yeah, there's been a few. The restriction, yes. Now I'm thinking, I'm zoning in. Yes,
I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
No. We definitely have. I'm just trying to make sure I'm giving you the right information. So the problem we have when we're with that kind of client is that permission to post on their behalf, or they have to. Someone from corporate needs to go over their posting. And it is what it is. The thing, not only with franchises but people in general, they overthink the social media aspect. It's better to get stuff out there and get your message out there rather than to iron it with the fine-tooth comb.
Exactly. You don't want to spend a month working on one post when you should just be doing one post a day for the month.
Exactly.
I get it.
Well, and for Doug, from your perspective, the angle would be to find an emerging franchisor and get them to roll it out nationwide as they grow their systems. Every franchisee on the same system. So we'll talk offline.
And it's not even a franchise thing. It's, businesses in general, they're trying to put television commercials on social media, and it's just a different beast.
Absolutely. George, did I cut you off, or are there more? You obviously talked about management, sales, a little bit of marketing. What about when someone says to you, I've heard this term before, absentee ownership. I see that advertised in the Instagram post about this franchise, and someone's trying to sell me something, and it says you can be an absentee owner. What does that mean?
I have trouble with the term absentee because I don't think absentee applies to any business owner, right? Absentee applies to buying stocks, right, or buying crypto or whatever, right? You can do that kind of absentee, park it, leave it. It does what it does. It doesn't matter. But as a business owner, I think absentee is complicated, right? Because if you're completely absentee, it means you're not watching the numbers at the very least.
You know what I like to say? Doug, this is for you. This is another T-shirt moment.
Yeah.
If you want an absentee business, you're going to have an absentee checkbook.
Boom.
Done. Because semi-absentee is probably a term that is used a little more frequently, George?
Yep.
Okay,
and that I buy. I don't believe that everybody that advertises that they've built a semi-absentee system has a good one. Just like I don't believe that every franchise is a good franchise, right?
Of course, just because it's a franchise.
Better than others. So, I think when you look at the term semi-absentee, there are companies that have built semi-absentee models that are exceedingly effective. The space that really built that term, that built that model, was the hair care space. It was Fantastic Samson, Great Clips, and Supercuts. right?
Gotcha.
And those are the guys that came along 30 years ago that said, well, we've got this super streamlined business and we've got all these corporate executives that aren't ready to leave yet. This is a different world at the time. So they needed to build something that was an attractive investment to people that didn't want to leave their job yet, because they had no pain, no incentive to, right? Not everybody was getting downsized the same way. 30 years ago, if 1,000 people were downsized, they would be on the front page of every newspaper in the country, right?
Right.
That doesn't happen today. So they had to build a model for people that were likely to stay in their jobs, but wanted to build the second stream of income. And they had a great business to do it in. Now they just had to figure out how to sell that franchise to people that had never in their life wanted to own a hair salon, right? And so they figured that out. The candidates came in, the systems got large. It was a good business, but what they did more than anything was to prove that semi-absentee model now to the rest of franchising. And there are franchises that I don't believe it works in at all. I don't believe it works in the restaurant business.
Gotcha. So give me an example of what's an industry that kind of does jump out to you for semi-absentee that makes some sense to you. Can you have an example of an industry?
Well, I think in a general sense, it's low employee, it's low inventory, it's businesses where you've got a more stable employee base. So hair care made sense, salon suites made sense, gyms can make sense as semi-absentee, right? Because you've got a couple of trainers, you've got one manager, no real inventory. Gyms and hair salons are not that different in what it takes to run them. So you can look across franchising and say, okay, this franchise is advertising semi-absentee. They've got 5 employees in a typical location or 3 employees in a typical location, no inventory. But then there's this other one over here, and they've got like 30 or 40 employees. How is that semi-absentee, right? There are just too many moving pieces. So I think you have to be a little cognizant of what you're looking at and not take it on face value that when it says it's semi-absentee, that it works well in that brand.
Yeah. I think, for a real world example, I mean, the reason we were attracted, numerous reasons we were attracted to Salons by JC was that it was semi-absentee by definition, that nobody waited for me to show up, Doug, for it to happen. So it's not like I had to show up at 5 a.m, bake the bread for Jimmy John's, and deliver the delivery. I've got a collection now of a few hundred women and obviously a few guys as well who, on their own have their own clientele. They have their own business. When they're ready to go to work, they show up, they put a key in the door. We have one manager who is there. All the revenue comes in now through like an ACH program. So, we're obviously checking in all the time, talking to the manager daily. But do I physically, or does Michael physically have to be in Palm Beach or in Greensboro or even in New Jersey at that salon? Absolutely not. That day, we do not have to be there. We have to know exactly what's going on in terms of P&L wise and management wise. And of course, leasing and creating a sense of community. But we don't have to be present on site in that location for that business to succeed every single day. So that's how I kind of define it. That was something that I was really attracted to, especially because our family owns real estate in multiple states. And we looked at the Salons by JC concept partially as a way for diversification and a way to control our real estate and make more money out of a space, because we now can chop it up and obviously get a higher rental stream. George, my wife has a lot of friends who have recently started small businesses. Okay. And I'm sure Doug's fiance has a lot of friends. Very popular. You get to a stage in your life where, you had a great job. And then you had a baby and you wanted to stay home for a few years. Then you had a second baby and you wanted to stay home for a few years. And you kind of get to this point where you go, you know what? I want something more, whether it's for your own mental health, for your own confidence and your contributions in life and your background and your education, and you want something else. So you start, a little side hustle, a little side business, whatever you call it. Take me through, why does somebody, how does somebody think, or how do you consult with them when they're in that position? They've got this side hustle, and maybe it's just Airbnb or Uber, right? They're doing. How do you take someone from that into a franchise? I know when we talked last, I think it was yesterday, we talked a little bit about those couple tests that you like to run from one of your old colleagues, Brad Sugar. Take me through that a little bit, how you would test that.
So I think the question becomes right out of the gate is, what do you want to build, right? Is this a side hustle? Is it a little extra cash flow? Is it a hobby that you're passionate about that you want to monetize in some way, whether to cover the cost of your hobby or to grow a little extra cash flow there? Or do you want to build a business, right? And so the test that you mentioned comes from an old friend of mine. He built the largest business consulting franchise in the world, a gentleman named Brad Sugars. I'll have to send him the link now. We'll boost his ego that we're quoting him. But in their business, they have a lot of, kind of tests and processes and so forth to help business owners. But in this conversation, what he would say is there are two tests for you to know if the money that you're making is a business or a job. Most basic qualification. The first test is, does it run without you there? Okay, so if you're sitting on a beach or if you're sick or whatever, will the business still run? Can you still make money? That's the first test. If it doesn't run without you there, you've got some steps to go through. It doesn't make it bad. That cash flow is not bad. Cash flow is never bad, right?
Sure.
But it
cash flow is king.
Does mean that if you want to build a business, right? And now we're getting to the second test, because this is why you build the business, is can you sell it when you're done? Right? For a lot of people with side hustles or hobbies that they're monetizing, when they're ready to walk away, most of them just walk away. This even happens with businesses in your community. They haven't been built in such a way that they could be sold. It could be a local restaurant, local retail store. And when that owner's ready to move on, there's really nobody that would line up to buy it. Right? And so you want to build something that has some asset value. It's the difference between owning and renting your home, right? Do you own your home? You ask anybody that, they either do or they want to, and they know very clearly that they want to, because over time, as they own their home, they'll increase asset value, right? And so you want to own your home, not rent your home. If you're renting your home, you're probably paying about the same thing, but the other guy owns it. They're getting the asset value, right? So the interesting thing is this employee role that we're all trained to go into is a little like renting your home. You've got the cash flow, you're building somebody else's dream. And when you're ready to walk away, you just walk away. Maybe they throw you a party, but you don't get any money on the way out the door, right? And so these side hustles have value. And I think that there is a true value in a lot of side hustles, taking folks that are coming from employee backgrounds and giving them skill sets that they need to get to the next level, right? I think that whether it's an employee role or a side gig role or college or any number of things, there are all of these steps that you can take that get you the skills that you need to get to the next level. All right. My college coach, he wasn't there when I was in college. I was older. Nick Saban, right? He talks a lot about the process. So he brings in new football players, and there's a process taking them through learning, playing at college level, and for some of them, preparing them for the pro level, right? Of what it takes to win a game, what it takes to win the next play, what it takes to win a national championship. Business is the same way. It's a process. You don't go from graduating from high school or college to CEO in one step. You don't go from high school or college typically to business ownership in one step. You can encapsulate that. You can do it quickly, but there are steps you'll have to go through, things that you need to learn to effectively do that.
Gotcha. No, I think that's great. I think sometimes people will watch, Shark Tank, and you'll hear them say, look, this is a hobby. This is not a business. It's not investable. I hear them say that all the time, and it's important. But I want to be clear. There's nothing wrong with a hobby, right?
No.
Cash flow is king.
Yeah.
If you have a W-2 and you're happy as an employee, and you have kind of a little side hustle on the side that makes some extra money, and that allows you to go to a few more Giants game a year, or take that vacation, or help plan for college or your first home, absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just understand it may not be, there may be something else out there that does drive you, that has the passion, that is a small capital amount of investment that you could get into. That's a franchise. That is something that is investable, scalable, sellable, et cetera. All the things that we talked about. But you have to understand the difference between a hobby and a business. That's important. Kind of look in the mirror moment, I think.
Right. And like you say, the hobby is not a problem. The side gig is not a problem. But if your goal is to own a business, you're going to have to figure out, okay, what do I need to take this cash flow to where I envision myself being 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right?
Gotcha.
And so if you don't figure out that strategy, you may be stuck in that same cash flow with no real benefit long term, right? You can build a business.
George,
anybody can build a business.
You used a interesting phrase with me yesterday in our pre-interview. You said, "Why are you renting your income?" And we talked a little bit about why would you get into a franchise earlier versus later in your career. Can you talk about that for a moment before we get kind of towards wrapping up here?
Sure. So again, nothing wrong with a career, nothing wrong with being an employee, but there for most people comes a point in that career where they have all of the tools that they need, or most of the tools that they would need to run a business that they could grow asset value for their family, right? Could be an independent business, could be a franchise, any number of things. So the challenge then becomes is at the point you're ready, every year you stay in a job, every year you're building somebody else's assets and not building yours, it just kind of logarithmically falls further and further behind what you can do for your family, right? And so as soon as you become ready, as soon as you feel empowered, capable, ready to go, that your apprenticeship is over, right? It's going to benefit you and your family to go start creating your own asset, your own empire, right? And so I think that the challenge for most people is realizing that point. And if you're in your career and it's all okay and it's going fine and you have a job to go to and they send you paychecks every couple of weeks, you don't have a lot of pain maybe, right? So you put off and you put off and you put off because it's okay enough, right? I've got a mortgage and I've got car payments and we belong to the country club and I get to take a couple of vacations a year. And if I jump out of that comfort zone, it's going to feel scary. It's going to feel really scary to jump outside of that comfort zone because what I have is okay enough, right? It's the old story about, horrible story about cooking frogs, right? If you drop a frog in a pot of boiling water, they're going to jump out. But if you put the frog in a pot of cold water and you turn the burner on, it'll stay in the pot.
Right. It's a slow, right? The slow burn, right?
So that becomes corporate America, that the further you get into that career, the more, a friend of mine used the term debt propulsion you have, right? That you've created this lifestyle that eats up the cash flow from that job. Now you feel trapped. So it's easier to stay and take good enough over what could be great.
And your aversion to risk, totally changes. And I can talk about this, with real life experience as I talk to professional and success credentialed hairstylists, massage therapists, estheticians in the health and beauty wellness industry. Sometimes I will come across somebody who is just at the point, maybe they're 58 years old or 60 years old. And they say, look, yeah, if I had known this 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I would have done this. Mm-hmm. But they're just so used to getting their consistent paycheck and they don't want to take on a risk, and they're at a point in their life where that's all changed for them. And I feel bad because obviously it's a great opportunity for them to own their own business and get in early. And so there's someone who actually rents from us in Greensboro, Sabina McCoy, who's been a professional in our Greensboro Salons by JC, probably 6 years now. All right. I saw her probably a year ago, right before, or probably 2 years ago, right before COVID, and gave her a big hug and thanked her for being part of our family for 5 years. And I remember when she got started, she didn't have the full book of business that you would have thought she would have or expected her to take on the risk of going out on her own. But she had the confidence. She was taking business classes and she went for it. We believed in her, gave her a great opportunity, and she was able to grow that book of business through the next few years. and is an incredible success story. So shout out. Thanks for watching. Sabina, great timing. We didn't discuss this ahead, but that's just a great, simple example. The earlier you go for it when you're younger, you can afford to take some more risks. Like, I would not go bungee jumping, Doug, or skydiving now.
No.
I've got kids, I've got mortgage, I got businesses, right? People are depending on me. When you're 18 years old, a little different, right? A little different. So, I mean, those are really great points, George, especially when you say, if you're going to want to own your home, why are you renting your income? That really resonates, right? Why are you building someone else's dream if that's your desire to own your own business? Again, nothing wrong with being an employee. Totally cool. But if your desire is to have your own business, there are lots of resources. It doesn't take $1 million to go start a business. George mentioned earlier in the show, there's IRA rollovers, there's 401k rollovers, there's small business loans. And I can tell you, a lot of people that rent from us in the family commercial real estate business do have a small business loan if they're part of a national franchise. The banks love that. Landlords love that you're part of a big brand, a big system. George kind of describes this manual, and I know Jeff has it with his company. It's like literally a binder, right? That talks about the systems and the brand images that are approved and the story, et cetera. So people really like that. So I'm a big component of not reinventing the wheel, So sure, you could go, Doug, and start some incredible tech business, right? And you can make $1 billion. And I think we're all perhaps ready for someone to find the next Facebook, and kind of, discover what's the next big thing. But how many of those are going to fail, right? Thousands, versus the franchise model where, you can sit down with the founders and talk to 20 other business owners in other states or markets and understand kind of their challenges, the strengths, their opportunities. None of them are perfect, of course. So I'm just a big fan of the franchise business. And George, kind of closing here, would you be open to, if there were some listeners who wanted to get some more information to understand kind of what are industry trends, what are kind of some areas that you think are up and coming areas, would you spend 15 minutes with someone on a phone call, kind of a, no strings attached consultation? How could somebody get in touch with you to help understand that better?
Garrett, from your experience with me, the phones are always open. I enjoy the conversations. I'll talk business all day long. I'll talk empire building all day long. This is why I do what I do, right? Because I get to meet people like you. I get to meet folks coming out of corporate America, looking at how do we build a better thing for our family, whatever that might be. Right. And so I love those conversations. Anybody is welcome to contact me via email. Garrett had put up our website earlier. Feel free to fill out the contact form there. The phones are always open. I love the conversations. If you mention Garrett, we'll come up with a prize of some sort, I'm sure. But no, it's my pleasure. We don't make this hard. We're not ego driven. There's no test.
Gotcha. Now we are getting to the point of our show where we are going to go, George, into the lightning round. I should have asked you this if you're okay with this, but I'll just assume you're kind of go with the flow type of guy. We're going to ask you a series of a few questions that you'll be on the clock, like Jeopardy.
Okay.
And
these do I have to answer as a question?
No, you don't.
Okay.
No. Very good point. It's not Jeopardy. Opposite of Jeopardy. Definitely not Jeopardy. Just give the first answer that you kind of comes to your head. You don't have to overthink it. It's just supposed to be a little bit of fun. And Dougie, when you're ready, let's get that clock going. There it is. Okay, George, what would be a great business book you would recommend to an up-and-coming entrepreneur?
The E-Myth by Paul Gerber.
A lot of entrepreneurs have been thinking about maybe opening franchises in space, traveling to space. Who would you trust to take you there most? Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, or Elon Musk?
I love Richard Branson, but I'm going with Musk.
George, from getting to know me, I love my vanity plates, and I always show custom vanity plates on my Instagram when I travel. Mm-hmm. What would be, if you were forced to have a vanity plate, I know you're a car guy, what would be your vanity plate?
Oh, there are vanity plates on everything. So the vanity plate on the Cobra was item 19. The vanity plate on the current SUV is act as if.
Act as if, Doug. I like
If you
that.
want to be
Yeah.
a champion, act as if you're a champion.
And this is a Ted Lasso throw in. First concert, best concert.
Oh, Lord. First concert was ZZ Top, probably in my adult years. I'm sure I went as a kid to things. Best concert was Van Halen, Sammy Hagar edition, 5150 in Maryland, and it's still streamed online today, the concert I was at. It was phenomenal.
Wow. That's incredible. And then lastly, George, what's a goal that you'd want me to remind you of a year from now?
Start the franchise company we're talking about starting.
All right, Dougie, he did it.
Nice.
He beat the lightning round.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No.
Good
So,
stuff.
George, just want to thank you so much for your years of friendship, and being such a good, obviously it started as a
Same here.
consultant, kind of business relationship, and we were introduced through other mutual friends and clients. But, we've spent the past 8 years kind of talking about empire building and obviously thinking larger than just one unit. And now Michael and I have, I think we have 7 Salons by JC franchises open or in development, and working on the next, 10 at the same time. It's hard to keep track. So I really, owe you a lot of credit for kind of giving me some of those tools and resources, and, introducing me to the great Salons by JC family. And of course, just, talking cards and football and as friends do. So I really appreciate you coming on the show today and being with us, and wishing you the best of luck. And like you mentioned, if anybody wants to pick his brain a little bit, you've got the website, myperfectfranchise.com. Mention my name so he knows you're one of my friends and listeners. And we hope to connect with you soon, and hopefully we'll see you in person. I'll be down in DC and see you in person soon.
I'll look forward to it anytime. Listen, it's been an adventure watching you build your empire, and I couldn't be prouder of the work that you and Michael are doing. And I know that your father and your uncle feel the same way. So keep up the good work, and can't wait to see what you do next.
You got it. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
All right, Dougie. So
Yeah, great episode.
you thinking of, I should ask you, any idea on a franchise? I mean, like, what's your favorite franchise? Or
Yeah, I mean, Undefeated Media one day will
Could that
be
be
a franchise,
Wow.
or at least have multiple locations,
Yeah.
if you will. But yeah,
Did you
it was a
ever
great
see? Did you ever see the movie The Founder about McDonald's?
yes, I did. That was actually going to be one of my questions. Is
Yes.
with these locations and stuff, are you also looking to be into like real estate? Because that was one of the themes in that movie.
Absolutely. That is an incredible movie. Why am I blanking on his name?
Ray Kroc,
No, not Ray Kroc.
Michael Keaton,
Michael Keaton, of course.
the Batman,
The Batman, the 1989 Batman. I think that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And those of you that haven't seen The Founder, go ahead and please check that out, because you're going to really understand the story of franchising and of systems, right? And the strength of McDonald's, et
Great
cetera.
movie.
And I think it was just a really, really well done movie.
Yeah, and not only in that movie, that was a common theme. Like a lot of books I read is like a quote where Ray Kroc's in a bar with a bunch of college kids, and they're like, what makes you think you're so great at business? You're just selling cheeseburgers. Or he's like, I'm not selling cheeseburgers. I'm doing real estate. It's like a famous quote. It's in a bunch of books. Yeah.
McDonald's is one of the largest real estate owners in the country, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great dream to set. If you want to be Undefeated Media like McDonald's, or Salons by JC, get as big as McDonald's. I mean, that's a great goal to set. So,
absolutely.
we definitely learned a lot today about the difference between a hobby and a business, and what it's like to really go out on your own. That it's not necessarily as scary as it has to be starting your own business. There are these franchise teams out there that can help you and kind of walk you through the Georges of the world, that can advise you, and kind of your, one of the things I love about being in Salons by JC, obviously there's a great corporate team there out in Texas, but I love the other franchisees. We have a private, Facebook group where we can talk about what's working, what's not working, how can we help each other. And so something as simple as, did you try that new color tile that came out, or how's the new break room or the new door being, is that sink being loved, or is there a challenge with that furniture layout? These are little tweaks and kind of real-time feedback that we can get from each other. And it's not competitive, because these are people in Florida or in California or in Oklahoma, Las Vegas, all over the place, that are, you're supporting each other because you've got that proprietary
Well, yeah,
you know,
and if they have a good
territory.
experience here, they're more likely to use it there.
Absolutely. So I'm big fan of that, and just want to let everyone know we're thinking about the next few shows. We've got some great guests booked, and we're also going to be having a 2-part episode coming up in the near future.
Wow.
Before the end of the year, we're gonna break down kind of the overall commercial real estate industry and
Nice.
kind of give you the top 5 or 6 reasons why we love commercial real estate. Why do we invest in commercial real estate? And to help you understand, is that something that in the future you may want to get into? And why would you want to get into that? And so we'll spread that out over a 2-part, I think.
Nice.
And just want to wish everyone healthy and a happy rest of the week.
And how about we wish you a happy birthday?
Oh, well, it was yesterday, but I appreciate it. It's never too late for a belated happy birthday. I'll be taking tweets and Instagrams and all for the rest of the week.
Keep them coming.
And to Harper, I will see you on your birthday, October 9th. I love you. I'll see you today. I'll see you every day. But I want to wish you an early happy birthday because I won't be on the podcast before your birthday. So I love you. You're the best. All right. You want to take us out, Dougie?
Yes, let's take us out.
Let's go. Thanks for watching, everybody.